Hey guys, welcome back to Vertical Momentum. Guys, this is going to be a great episode. We're going to be talking about resiliency, military, and rocks. Yes, I said we're going to be talking about rocks with my friend Kalen. We just got connected. I'm so grateful for him. He's a brother in Christ, and he's changing the game. Kalen, welcome to VM Nation. This is the first episode of Warrior Wednesday. And we'll talk about what Warrior Wednesday is later on. But thank you for coming on today. And I know we had a couple glitches, but I think that we adapt and we overcome. So welcome to VM Nation. How are you doing today?
Man, I'm doing great. I'm really happy to be here on this first Warrior Wednesday.
Warrior Wednesday. So like I said, we're going to be talking about resilience. Now, you've come back from a bunch of things. You've you've started and lost a couple of businesses, other things. So what is your definition of resilience?
So my definition of resilience is probably just getting up every day and doing the best that you can with what you have. Right? It doesn't need to be some calculated crazy formula. You just do the best you can with what you've got, and just keep doing that long enough, and you're going to succeed.
I love it. So tell us a little bit about where you come from, where you grew up, and give us a quick down and dirty on your high school career and your military career.
Sure. So I come from Connecticut. I was born in Texas. We moved a lot. Both Air Force parents. So my mom was the first machinist, female machinist in the Air Force, which was kind of cool. My dad was was the exact opposite of anything ambitious. Just basically went into the Air Force because it was the only place he could go. But so they both went in. They met there. They decided to settle when we were little in Naugatuck, Connecticut. So grew up in Naugatuck, Connecticut. So shout out to all my Connecticut people. Loved it there. Stayed there until I was about 15. I got into some trouble. I put a laxative in a teacher's water bottle and got arrested at school. Yeah, and ended up freaking out my parents enough where they put me in an actual military academy. So I ended up graduating from New York Military Academy in Cornwall-on-Hudson, same one as Trump. Graduated from there in 2003 as a first lieutenant and a company commander.
All right. So now, because I'm in Jersey, I don't live too far away. I've spent a lot of time in Connecticut. Connecticut's a beautiful area.
It is.
So, did you just get mixed up in the wrong crowd, or was this a one-off thing that happened? But it kind of just
no. I was definitely with the wrong crowd. So back then we still had the classes of people, right? You had like your skaters and your jocks and all that stuff. Back in the early 90s. And no, I ended up fixing in with like the druggy crowd, the skater crowd, stoner crowd, stuff like that. So we thought it would be a lot of fun to put a laxative in a teacher's water bottle. And turns out that laxative was like 15 years past its date. So it was borderline poison at that point. So I got like a breach of peace charge as a juvenile. And, I got to spend like 14 hours in jail, and yeah, that was a lot of fun. So freaked my mom out enough where she put me in military school.
Because, I'm a big sports geek, and, I know that, there's my cousins went to some exclusive colleges in Connecticut. I'm not going to say which ones, but, Connecticut also has its bad parts, like where Aaron Hernandez is from. So you can also get in trouble. No matter what state you live in, you can always find trouble, and trouble will always find you. I got thrown out of school for hitting a teacher with a desk. They frown upon that. So I totally get it. And for me, it was either military or jail, and I kind of did both. But talk to us about, coming off the streets and then being 15, 16 years old, going into a military academy. What was that like?
Man, that was tough. So the most vivid memory I have of that is the day that my parents dropped me off for my junior year. And it's not real until they drive away and you realize that you are really there by yourself alone, because it's a boarding school. It's not just something you go to during the day. So I mean, I'm on the third floor of the Alpha Company building, and I'm 15, 16, and I see my parents drive away, and I'm 150, 200 miles from home, and I am alone. like alone. And you're not allowed to really bring anything because obviously you just get BDU, or what we called BDUs. You get BDUs, Class A's, Class B's, stuff like that. So yeah, you're alone and it's quiet. And then, about an hour later, people start yelling and kind of getting you into your first formation and stuff like that. So it was pretty wild, man. It was pretty wild.
Now, I have a lot of friends. They either went to VMI or the West Point, and a lot of them said, they weren't exactly the perfect student or soldier. So they walked a lot. They did a lot of demerit walking. Did you have to do anything, or were you the perfect soldier?
Absolutely not. No perfect soldier here, man. And that's for active duty career and military school career, and then even college career. No, I did a lot. So we didn't do demerit walking. We did a lot of push-ups. So I got in great shape when I was in military school.
So now, when you graduate, do you go to college or do you go straight to the military?
No, so I tried 1 semester at the Merchant Marine Academy, which is SUNY Maritime. So they're awesome. They're a great school. I just learned very quickly that I was going to college because my parents wanted to me to go to college, and I had really no interest in furthering my academic career. So I spent most of that semester drinking, and then very quickly found that I flunked every class and got kicked out.
So is that when you chose the military? Now,
Yep.
I love people's recruiting stories because everybody has a different one. Tell us your recruiting story. Did you recruit yourself, or was it a hard sell for you to get in?
No, not even. So I went to my dad at Christmas, right? I had just flunked out of the first semester, so it's Christmas time, and I go to my dad. Him and my mom had just split, and basically said, "Hey, Dad, I flunked out of college. What do I do now?" And he said, "Well, you can't live with me. You can't live with your mom. So I guess it's be homeless or going to the military." So I chose the military. Now, as
So
far as the recruit, oh, go ahead.
what
Sorry.
branch did you choose, and why did you
Both my
choose?
parents were Air Force, so I chose Air Force.
Okay. So
So I
what
mean,
was it? What was it like going into the recruiter's office? Because there's a difference. It's kind of like there's people that are in the National Guard and then they join the active duty, and it's totally freaking different. So what was it like when they're looking at you, all your credentials from school, and now you're going to go into the big boys club?
You got it. So I get there, and my recruiter was actually a great guy, but I had asthma, so which is of course an automatic DQ for the military. And he basically said, "Don't tell anybody." So, so I didn't. And I mean, I got in, went through basic, went through AIT, graduated, got my first duty station, and then unfortunately, well, let's stick to recruiting for now. But so yeah, he just told me not to say anything and just say yes to all the questions, and it was like, yeah, okay, that's good. I'll do that.
Okay. So now, did you immediately take to active duty? Because, like I said, there's a big difference between school and also to now you're in this shit 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So did you take to the military?
I loved it. And I would say for anybody who's gone through like at least my school, like New York Military Academy, there's not a lot of difference between active duty and school. It's just you take out the school part and you put in the briefings. I mean, we were military 24 hours a day. There wasn't really a break. You don't get to not be in uniform except on the weekends when in active duty we would get R&R. So it was kind of the same thing. But
So
I mean,
what job did you choose and why?
I was a cook, and I loved my job. I was a services troop, so shout out to all my services troops. And basically, just because I went in, I thought that it would be cool to go parajump rescue, and then that they were on like a hold or whatever, and so they were like, "Hey, we're just going to put you in as a services troop because that's what you can do right now to get in." Because again, it was homeless or military. So he was like, "We got plenty of room for services troops. You're going to cook some food, and when an opening happens, we'll put you in for that." And then I went to AIT on Medina Air Force Base, which was like a auxiliary of Lackland. And I got to see the PJ guys and realized that I was not going to be one of them. So I just decided to stay services.
All right. So did your breathing problems ever come up doing PT and people wondering why you're sucking wind?
So by the grace of God, I got through basic, no problem. AIT, no problem. When I got to my duty station, however, started smoking again. And unfortunately, that caused an asthma attack, which got me force shaped right out.
So how many years did you do in the military?
1. I made it 1. And then they
So,
popped me.
For me, I did 23. I got thrown out of the military the first time for being a drug addict. I came back in and I got hurt on duty. So if you can't see, you can't shoot, we don't need you. Bye-bye. So sad. And it kind of left a big void in my life. So what was it like, all of a sudden, you have the whole 16 to 18 in the school, and then you join the military, you're enjoying life, and then all of a sudden you're no longer military. And like a member of our group, Sergeant Nick Valentine, says, once you step off base, the military really doesn't give a shit about you. And a lot of us, we lose our way. For me, it was a failed suicide attempt, but I didn't know who I was. So what was your transitioning out? Even though, it was a year, but still, you were indoctrinated to be a soldier. What was it like to no longer be a soldier?
Hopeless and very because you don't really know what's going on in your head at the time, right? You don't realize that your tail's spinning out of control because you have no more structure. But yeah, no, I tailspin for probably the next 2 or 3 years trying to figure out. I mean, I had just spent my entire high school career and then the 1 semester of college career trying to be a soldier. Finally made it active duty, and then it was like, oh no, you have a breathing problem. You're not gonna be us. So I spun for, I don't even know, man, like 3 years, 4 years before I finally caught myself. Had a failed marriage in that time because I thought I knew what I was doing and I didn't. So that was a hard spin, man. That was a living hell for a lot of years.
All right. So before we get on there, because this is where I want to get really deep into how you came back. I want to thank our sponsors, the Warrior Council. I'm so honored and privileged to be able to be a part of the Warrior Council. If you guys that are listening are business owners and you're veterans, you need to be into the Warrior Council. It could be something where we're all there for each other. We're there to lift you up. It's actually a mastermind of different veteran-owned companies that are there for you. We're not there for, we there for us, but we're there for you, and we all grow. And like, I guess our friend Robert Garcia talks a lot about it, rising tide lifts all ships. So if you guys are a veteran and you have a business, definitely join the Warrior Council. And also one of our members, his name is Joe, and he has a company called Maxwell Soaps. And I use it because I got diabetic itchy skin, and they're soaps that are made without detergents. And so if you know somebody that wants clean skin and feel good about when they get out of the shower, feel clean, definitely go check out maxwellsoaps.com. And the best thing is, for every bar of soap that they sell, they donate a bar to help clean up the homeless population in the city of Los Angeles, California. So thank you, Joe, for sponsoring the show. So now talk to us about, because, now you're out 3 years, you're struggling. And, I've been through 3 failed marriages, 2. So I get it. And, we don't have to talk about that. But I want to talk about is what was your literal come to Jesus moment where you decided, all right, enough is enough. I'm tired.
So let's see. Okay. So fast forward through Arizona, because that's just total tailspin all the way to probably, it would be all the way to Kansas. Got in a little bit of trouble, got out, went to Kansas to go be with my mom. And I answered this Craigslist ad because I'm going through job after job after job after job after job, selling everything. I mean, I have a knack for sales. I sold cars for 6 years, killed it, made more money than anybody my age at that time should have made, because the car business back then was absolutely exploding. The internet was still kind of a new thing. I get in the ground floor of that. So, I was making between $250 and $500 a year. just crushing it. And then, of course, blowing it all, like they teach you at the car business. And then, I moved to Kansas to be with my mom. I answer a Craigslist ad for this guy that is selling TENS units at a mall kiosk. So I was that guy.
So talk to us what a TENS unit is. Because when I was reading your bio, and I'm like, I've been around a lot of places. I've talked to a lot of people. I was in the health and fitness industry for 30 years, but I have no idea what you're talking about.
So the medical name for a TENS unit is a transcutaneous electronic nerve stimulator, which you use them all over the place, man. So anybody who's had pain and gone to a pain management doctor, a chiropractor, anything like that has probably used something like what we sell. So we started selling those at mall kiosks. The owner at the time didn't really know what he had. I did a little bit of research, became a manager for him within the first week, fired half of his staff, hired all of my own people, and we grew that business for 3 years into multiple locations, and then 2 traveling road teams going and doing trade shows all over the country.
And so now, are you fulfilled at this point, or are you still searching?
So I was pretty fulfilled. I had purpose, right? My work was exploding. I was being able to help people who couldn't normally get jobs. I had one guy that worked with me. He was a solid guy, still a very, very dear friend to this day, who had a very slight form of autism. We were able to give him a job. I mentored him for years and years and years. Still, like I said, we're still friends. And, it gave me something to do. It kept me busy. I loved the growth plan of it. The problem was that the guy that I worked for was really against me all the time. Once we started getting big, he started getting really, really greedy, and then kind of blaming me and accusing me of doing things that I didn't do. And even after I proved that I didn't do them, he still wanted me to be blamed for it. So, we ended up parting ways, and it wasn't pretty. And So then I started my own business for the first time and did the same thing, just stayed away from where he was.
So, okay. So now, because a lot of people that are going to listen to this are vetrepreneurs,
Sure.
veterans, entrepreneurs, or they're retiring out of the military. And, a lot of us, if you do 20 years in the military, we go in young. So, okay, you're looking at you're 40 years old, 45, and you're like, now what do I do? And first thing, of course, is I'm going to start a t-shirt company. I'm going to start a hat company, liquor or coffee company. And then $10,000 later, we don't know what the hell just happened because, like one of our friends in our group, Stephen Kuhn says, if you don't have a business plan, you don't have a business, you have a hobby. So talk to us about going, because I'm sure that when you were doing this for this other gentleman, you started learning the back area. You started to learn the business part. So what was it like switching your mindset from you're cashing a check to now you have to earn a check, owning your own business? And if you don't work, you don't sell, you don't eat. So
You got
talk about that mindset change.
I love that you said that because that is literally so that's how I explain it to pretty much anybody that ever asks me is you don't work, you don't eat. So yeah, it is a very big change because what you're used to is having a guaranteed source of revenue coming in every month or week or whatever, and now everything is up to you. So the stress is insane. I don't want to just sugarcoat that and say, oh, it's just all peaches and sunshine. Like it's not. It is extremely stressful, and you have to learn a lot in a very short amount of time. So if you've never used QuickBooks before and you've never done accounting and you've never done, revenue management or cash management and things like that, I mean, I had to learn a lot very, very fast. And of course, I didn't probably do it very well the first time. I screwed up a lot. I lost a lot of money on bad ideas, but we still made a good amount. And yeah, I knew the business that I was getting into before I got into it. I had already done it for years. I helped basically grow another business to do exactly what it did, and I paid a lot of attention. Which, go ahead.
I had Marshall on the show, and we were talking about him, his businesses, and but everybody has a plan until you get punched in the mouth, like Mike Tyson said. And then, everything is going hunky dory for a lot of companies. And then COVID hit. What was that like being a business owner during COVID?
So
Did that?
Marshall and I have two very different experience. I mean, obviously me and Marshall have done a lot of business together. But Marshall and I had two very different experiences during COVID. So we're fast forwarding a lot of years, but I had just made a very large switch to medical devices through workers' comp and PIP, which is personal injury. And that, to be honest with you, that switch, maybe 7 or 8 months before COVID, is what kept our entire company floating through COVID. So it's been a very good business for us, very profitable, but also just a good, solid source of, incoming money every month, because obviously insurance is a completely different game than selling over the counter direct to consumer.
Yep. Now, we happen to know the medical device companies very well because my wife has been with the same medical device company for over 30 years. So, and we love them. We love medical devices. Anyway.
Yeah.
So talk to us about, because sometimes, one thing is in the military we're taught is, how to make a business plan, but how to also, have the backup to the backup to the backup and have another plan. I've had a lot of veterans on here. I've had a lot of Navy SEALs on here. And the thing is, when they put op together, they have so many different, if this happens, if this happens, if this happens. And it seems like a lot of times when people go into business and something happens like COVID, they don't know how to pivot. They don't know how. They're just stuck into one thing. So how, you've had 3 or 4 businesses and, some of them didn't go so great. Some of them are crushing it. So how do you learn how to pivot in these times?
Okay. So how do we pivot? So, I mean, now look, the Navy SEALs that you've had on here are probably much more intelligent and well equipped than I am to answer that question. But in a real world scenario, how do you pivot? You first of all find yourself a center and just stay calm, right? Money is money. It's going to come. It's going to go. Don't freak out and over exaggerate your response, because that's going to leave you in a much worse spot than you could possibly be now. So I guess the other thing, other than just kind of stay calm through it, is to think through the problem as it sits and try to be solution oriented, not just focus on the problem. So instead of focusing on, okay, COVID's going to bankrupt my business, what do I do now? Focus on how to solve that. So COVID is creating a problem, which is obviously affecting your revenue. So what is that problem? Identify that. And then how could you possibly branch out and fix that problem? So for instance, one of the big things that a lot of companies that I know of did, smaller companies, are instead of doing face-to-face sales, they got very heavily into digital marketing because they knew that people were on their phones and looking at digital, Facebook and media and all that stuff all the time. Yeah. Everybody's clicking. So they're all home. They have nothing to do. They're all clicking on stuff and they're still buying because they're still getting paid. So a lot of people just made that quick pivot over to different digital marketing ideas. And that was from them just staying calm and not freaking out. Sure, it hurt their bottom line and everybody had to make adjustments during the COVID period. But I mean, if you can stay calm and you can kind of just identify the problem as it is and not just think the world is going to end and then create a solution to that problem, you're going to find that it's a lot easier to pivot your business than you may have thought originally.
Now, one thing I love about you, I love the comeback story. I am the comeback coach and I love comeback stories. Now, like later on today, I got Mr. David Meltzer coming on and he's, made hundreds of millions of dollars. But at one point in his life, he lost everything. Over $100 million he lost. And now he's back again, but he has a purpose, kind of just like you. So, because sometimes if we lose a business, we feel like a failure. But a lot of people don't realize that failure is an event. It's not a person. So what made you, after losing the first business, not say, well, okay, I'm not a business guy. what made you go start number 2 and then number 3 and then number 4?
Because you get a taste of it, man. You get a taste of what owning a even marginally successful business is. And even though you're working 14 hours a day and you are just going crazy about every little thing, the really fun part about that is that everything matters, right? Everything matters. Every dollar that you spend, every minute that you take looking at new things or researching different ideas and all that, everything matters. And it's kind of like having your back against the wall all the time, right? And not even if you're in a really good financial spot, everything still matters. And that's the exciting part for me. That's what kind of gets me up in the morning. That's what makes me energized and alive is just that everything that I do is going to change the outcome of this business. Whereas in an employee setting, which isn't a bad thing for a lot of people, but the employee setting for me was no matter what I do, it's really not going to make a difference.
Okay, so now let's get to what you're doing right now. You sent me some pictures yesterday, and I'm totally blown away by what you do.
Thank you.
But I've interviewed. This is like my 450th interview, and I've never interviewed somebody that is doing what you're doing. So I'm very honored and blessed to be able to come on, and want to thank Marshall. So talk to us about what you're doing, and did you just look at a rock and said, all right, let me paint a rock?
So, right, like a pet rock?
Yeah.
No. So, okay. Well, there's a little background here, and so we got to go into that if we get into how I got into the business. So, a year ago, I opened a Christian ministry for guys getting out of prison that are having, extenuating circumstances or a lot of trouble. They can't find work. They can't find housing. They can't find a lot of things. And they're ending up in the woods. There's a huge homeless community here in Orlando. A very, very large percentage of that, close to 80%, are in some ways convicted of a crime. So because of that, there was a need. And when I was in my Ziglar coaching legacy thing, and I got licensed for the Ziglar organization as a coach and a leader, it kind of just came to me of what are you going to do that you're going to leave behind? And the ministry kind of came. I got a word from God saying, this is what you're going to do. So we did it. I tried for about 6 months, failed horribly, and then took a 6-month break, and then started just kind of copying someone else that was already doing it. I learned from them. The guy's name is Glenn Burns. Looked at him like a great mentor, wonderful man of God. Went and spent a year with him teaching at his ministry, and then I started my own. And we are going on our 3rd location now after a year. So we've grown exponentially. But the biggest part and how this all ties in is that I still have guys that it's hard to find them a good job that they enjoy, that pays them a fair wage, and it's still tricky sometimes. So we wanted to open a business that we could hire our own guys and not have to worry about them going and getting abused somewhere, at another employer.
But but like, I'm into digital marketing now. I'm in digital. I'm learning how to be in the digital space. But for me, it seems like you and your friend Glenn, you have a different niche where not a lot of people are in it. So unfortunately, when not a lot of people know about something, it's hard. Even though you are the innovators, it's kind of hard to get people to get on board something brand new. So what was that like?
6 months of failure. 6 months of failure of trying every day, making calls, trying to figure it out, and 6 months of crippling failure. That was tough. Now I'm also working full time at this point, so there's that to consider as well. But it was tough, man. Every door getting closed in your face, and trying to kind of pray through it and stay calm and pivot, and nothing seemed to work. So yeah, as an innovator, it's really, really, really tricky because you have to figure everything out, and you have to figure out how to open all of those doors that have been closed forever, right? That's how it works. So
we, like I said, a lot of the people are listening to this are, Vetpreneurs. And if you listen to some people, and I'm not going to say his name because I'm not going to get sued today, they say go in all in on your dreams, give all in, but sometimes you got to have a job so you can pay to promote, so you can pay for, paint. A lot of people they see here just go all in, and then they're like, okay, I'm here, but I don't have any cash flow. So talk to us about how you're able to juggle entrepreneurship, also holding down a job.
Sure. Okay. So, well, my full-time job is obviously the tens business at this time. So how do you juggle all of that? So the short answer is that, and I actually learned this from Marshall. It's one of his lessons that I've taken with me forever. Is that business is a team sport. You can't do it by yourself. If you think that the dream is going to be you're going to go in a t-shirt business, that's great, but you're going to need good people around you to actually make it something that's going to cash flow all of the desires that you have. So it's very rarely a one-man job that's going to get you to where you want to be. I know that's what all the gurus teach now, that like you can do it by yourself, just keep charging forward. I've never found that to be the case. I've always needed good people around me. Marshall's been one of them that's been there for me for over a decade, and been a confidant, been a partner, been a friend. You know what I mean? And obviously been a big source of encouragement for me. And it's just you need good people around you, even to bounce ideas off of. You can't. You're going to think that something's going to be a great idea, and then as soon as you tell it to somebody else, they're going to give you 52 reasons why it's a crippling mistake. But it's going to sound great in your head.
Yeah,
So,
and
I mean,
the thing I love about the Warrior Council is you could be like, I'm going to start a t-shirt company, and you're going to give every reason why you're going to be the lowest price, and then you're going to get somebody like Marshall's going to say, all right, you're just racing to the bottom. If you're the lowest price, you're just racing to the bottom, to the so, and sometimes it's a good reason to be the most expensive product, because like I ran I was in the health and fitness industry for 30 years, and a lot of times we would have a sale with say a $30 pre-workout and a $70 pre-workout, and we would have them on the same table. The $70 one would sell out every time because people think, well, if it's more expensive, it's got
it's
to be
got to
better.
be better.
And so, but a lot of people, they start a company and they're going to, like, if you're starting a t-shirt company, you can't compete with Black Rifle. You can't compete with some of these people on price. So sometimes you have to, compete other ways. So talk about you starting your company and knowing, well, since there's only like really a few of you guys, how did you have to learn to figure out, how do I price this stuff if it's not really out there yet?
Yeah. So with the rock business, Boulder Designs, that's still a something in process, right? We're still kind of figuring that out. So Boulder Designs is a franchise. It's a national franchise, but we are the Central Florida location. However, they give pricing guidelines at your franchise training, but every single franchisee prices them differently based on their area, their demand, all that stuff, right? Their time, their staff. So it's a really interesting. We're still kind of figuring it out, but I will say that the race to the bottom is something that I've never really been interested in. I enjoy being affordable. However, myself and Marshall really have always tried to live into the old adage that the quality will far outlive the love of quality will far outlive the passing phase of low price, something along those lines. I don't think that's the exact quote, but it's something like that.
Yep.
And we've tried to low price battle people before, and it's just never fun. You don't have any fun doing it. It hurts your soul to give away a good product for something that's less than what you should be getting for it. And with the rock business, it's the same thing. If I sell a $500 rock for $200, I can't. How much love and time am I going to put into that? You know what I mean? Whereas if we sell it for what it's worth, we're putting all the love and all the time and all the everything into it, and we make them gorgeous. And those are the pictures that I sent you. So we have no interest in being the lowest cost anything. I would rather be the highest quality. The cool thing is we guarantee all of our stones for life. We're the only sign company that I know of that does that. So, I mean, everything is etched in stone. It's literally written in rock. So
now, like one of my friends, he has a company called J Dog. Yeah, we all know him.
okay.
And he started his company, and now he's blown up everywhere. But he had to, because of the company that he's in, he had to start locally. And a lot of people are so worried about starting a business that's going to be worldwide that they kind of they forget, if your neighbor next door doesn't know what you do, there's a problem. And
Yeah.
a lot of people they kind of like, especially your business, a lot of it I'm sure is your warm market and your local area. So how did you have to go, obviously you didn't start with a lot of money, so how did you go about marketing a new company to a new area?
So I am I am a face-to-face sales guy. That's what I do. That's what I teach. That's what I coach. I teach people how to make money in face-to-face interactions. So when we started looking at different franchises and we found this one, it's one that they rely heavily on face-to-face interactions at flea markets, at home shows, things like that. And this is something that I've done forever. So we found a flea market in Central Florida that sees roughly between 5,000 and 7,000 people a weekend, and it's been our home since we started the business. We're there every weekend. We've just started to dip our feet into digital marketing, so that's kind of still a new venture for me. I'm not used to it. I'm used to selling everything face to face, but don't think for one second that we just got into this and didn't ask anybody, right? So you have to ask your warm market before you really take a dive, because if you can't, and this is something that we've kind of gone on before, if you can't sell your mom what you're about to sell, or sell your dad what you're about to sell, or sell your girlfriend or wife on what you're about to sell, then you probably shouldn't sell it.
That right there is probably the truest statement that I've heard in a long time, because a lot of times, like now, there's a lot of sexy stuff, so-called, like NFTs and crypto. If you can't explain it to your 80-year-old grandfather, you probably shouldn't be in the business. So I totally love what you're talking about. Now I know we're crunched on time because you got some amazing thing you're going to help out somebody with. So for the last couple minutes, how do we find you? How do we get in touch with you? And how do we support your mission?
Sure. So how do you find me? So Facebook, it is Boulder Designs by Upon This Rock Creations. That is our Facebook page. If you guys would go on there and like that, share it. We have tons of artwork on there. We have tons of delivery sequences. Like I said, we have a digital marketing company that's picking up and hopefully going to be helping us with that as well. And then website, we have, it's just the HTTPS, whatever. And then it's eorlando.boulderdesigns.net.
Okay.
So website, and then of course, just call us direct at 919-820-4333 if you're in the Central Florida area. That's pretty much how you find us.
All right. So that's usually the last question that I ask.
No problem.
But there are certain people that I have on the show that I feel led, because you are a brother in Christ. I just want to ask this final question.
Please.
They say that if you don't feel close to God, you're the one that moved. He's there yesterday, today, and tomorrow. He's always there for us. So if there's somebody out there right now, feeling lonely and feeling alone, how can they get close to him and get him back in their life?
Let me take a second with this question. I want to answer it the way I want to answer it.
Yep.
So if you're feeling alone and you're feeling isolated, first of all, just know that, if you're not into the whole Christian thing and that's not your jam, whether or not you believe or not, we believe that there's an enemy in the world, and we do believe his name's Satan, and where he wants you is lonely and isolated and alone and thinking that there's nothing else for you in life. And to that, I would say that, Christ is the most amazing transformation I've ever had, right? I mean, I was an evil person for a long time. I hurt a lot of people, and now I help people. And the fact is, if you're lonely, he's the only one that will not fail you. He will not leave you. He will not abandon you ever, no matter what you've done. If you're a murderer, if you've done horrible things to people, it doesn't change anything. Nobody is beyond redemption. Nobody is beyond salvation. It doesn't matter what you've done or how long you've done it. And whether you think you're close to God or you're far enough from God that he doesn't see you, he sees everything, man. He sees everything. And one of the things, I mean, I deal with guys with really, really, really brutal criminal histories. And one of the most shining examples is watching them transform from the guy who's just trying to figure out this faith thing that they heard about in a prison cell, and watching them completely transform into guys who all they want to do is love on and help people. And that transformation does take time. You don't have to be the uber like turtleneck wearing Christian to be close to God. That's not the Jesus that any of us serve. That's not the Jesus of the Bible, right? If you really read the Bible and learn who he is, for lack of a better term, man, Jesus is a badass, and he doesn't care what you've done. He just wants to talk to you. The whole Bible is a redemption story about him wanting to have a relationship with his people. That's it. That's it. That's the whole Bible, dude. It's not complicated. You know what I mean? It's not hard. And what I would do, if I were you, is if you feel alone, just start reading it. Just start reading it. Start in the Gospel of John. That would be my best. To start in the Gospel of John, and just start reading what he did. It's the greatest thing you'll ever do. The greatest thing. And I don't mean to make this like a huge Christian pitch, so I'm sorry, but
No, that's
it's
why I wanted.
yeah.
That.
I mean, dude, if you're feeling alone, and I know a lot of guys I never went to combat, right? I never saw combat. I stayed stateside. I never went over, but I know a lot of guys that did, and it screwed them up for a very long time. And one of which, in military school, my tactical officer took his own life with a shotgun, 2 floors above me. And he was crippled with anxiety from being an intelligence officer during one of the wars. And anyway, if that's you guys, man, reach out to one of the brothers here in the Warriors Council. Reach out to another veteran brother. Just reach out, man. The more you talk about it, the more you get the demons out, the more room that you have, the more room that God has to work. You know what I mean? It doesn't need to be, you need to be a great Christian the next day. I smoke, I drink, like I'm not your textbook Christian at all. But I also love God and love people, which is the only 2 things that Christ ever called us to do. And yeah, I mean, I ride a Harley, I wear jeans, combat boots. You know what I mean? I'm not your typical Christian, or at least not the one you see on TV. But there are more like me ever now than there ever have been.
Yep.
And dude, if you're lonely and lost, just reach out. Just reach out. Don't stay isolated. That's where the devil wants you, man. He's got you right where he wants you. And I know no veteran that has PTSD is ever a punk, because I know you've been through some stuff, but he's trying to make you a punk. And just get out of it. Get out of it. Go reach out. Do the hard thing. You know what I mean? Like you've been doing your whole life.
I love that, and so I just want to say thank you. First of all, I want to thank Marshall for hooking us up first,
Yeah.
So I want to give a shout out, like I said, to the Warriors Council. I want to give a shout out to Joe at Maxwell Soaps. Guys, if you got anything out of this, leave a comment below and let us know, how you're feeling about business, how you're feeling about yourself. Tell us some of your wins and maybe some of your losses. Leave a comment, subscribe. And I always end with a quote, and it's a quote by Miss Oprah Winfrey. And her quote says, "If you ever want to help yourself, help others." So guys, I just want to say thank you for being a part of my journey, and also letting me be a part of your journey. Kalen, brother, I'm so grateful and honored to call you a friend. I know you got a lot going on, so that's why I want to make sure you get out there on time.
It's all good, man. Thank you.
But I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming on, and I can't wait to see what you got coming on in the future.
All right. Well, thank you guys very much. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it, Richard.
All right, guys, remember vertical momentum. The only way to go is up. And I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Have an amazing day.